the pattern we're seeing now, it's already fucking happened. And it's going to happen again current year. They are literally driving all of the patriots, all of the good officers who aren't yes men out of the fucking service. And I have seen some articles that, the white guys are not enlisting in the military. I wonder why. Because they drove them the fuck out on purpose, and we've already seen this once. So pull it up.
Well, I mean, there's still bringing in the white guys. They just those guys are just putting on skirts and growing their hair out, putting lipstick on, saying, "Oh, I'm a woman." So there's still white men in the military. They're just not identifying as men.
Yep.
It doesn't look like I pulled that article up here, man. There was an article today that I saw in the paper where recruiting efforts are falling short, and the majority of it is white males are not joining the military. And there was an article in a paper from the God, I can't remember where it was from, but straight up, the article asks, "Where the honkies at?" was basically the headline. Where the honkies at?
Nice.
The white boys are not joining the military anymore.
And I guarantee you it was a white female that wrote that article.
Well, here's the thing. The volunteer army, most of the people who enlisted when they're young had family members who came from the military. And if you have enough people in the military who got a bad taste for it because they were fucked up by the toxic leadership, they're telling their kids, hey, fuck this. It's not worth it. Don't do it. And we're seeing it in the recruiting numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go to a trade school, become a mechanic, become an electrician, become a plumber.
Right. Yeah.
Because people can't fucking function without running water, the lights to keep their houses lit, and the car to keep them to going from point A to point B or going to work and whatnot.
Yeah.
Choose those 3 trades. Or trucking. Become a truck mechanic. Do what I did. 9 months, you're in and out. Done.
All right. So here we got the Red Army Purge that we're going to cover here in 1941, right?
It really started all the way back in 1917 with the big Army Purge.
Correct.
Was around 1940, 1941.
But it took the communists a good 20 years to get up to full steam, and they literally gutted their military to almost nothing. And, Hitler saw that and said, fuck it. We're going to fuck these guys up.
Yeah. So what this is, the Bolsheviks were basically narcissistic megalomaniacs. A lot of them were complete sociopaths and psychopaths.
No.
They were. It's just what it is.
People at the top are like,
yeah,
oh
I know. Crazy, unbelievable stuff. Just absolutely unbelievable stuff. So what they did was remove the warrior class, and Russia had a real serious warrior class.
The Cossacks.
The Cossacks and the Russians themselves, not just the Cossacks. The Cossacks were like a thing. The Russian people themselves had a warrior tradition. They were a manly man culture.
Yes.
The Bolsheviks got rid of anybody in the military like that and only kept the sycophants, bootlickers, and loyalists. Now, you can't build an army with that kind of thing.
Not an effective one.
They'll lie to you if they think that's what you want to hear. They'll only fight the battles they think you want them to fight, and they won't do anything without you telling them to do it.
It's kind of like the way Russia is right now.
All 3 of those elements will tank you.
Correct.
Russia and Ukraine, let's be fair, they're both that way right now.
Yeah.
They really are. Yeah, Ukraine doesn't have anything like an organized military.
Not anymore.
They simply do not.
No.
And we talked about this a bunch of episodes back, I think. It doesn't matter how you train these people. It doesn't stick.
No.
It doesn't. All you do is give them better tools to do
nothing.
Mayhem that they were going to do. Either butcher a population or do nothing at all.
Well,
and end up butchered.
Listen, the Russian military doesn't have an NCO, a professional NCO corps. And for an effective military, you need a professional non-commissioned officer corps.
Yeah, you need a layer between the troops and the commanders.
Correct. And if you're going to, and all of those guys, those NCOs, the good ones are getting run out of the military. The few good officers that I knew are now gone. You know, it's a total clusterfuck. All right, so we got the whole purge.
And here you can see the purge. Here's the 1941 purge.
Did you put it? Did you share the screen?
Yeah.
All right, let me check. Make sure we're on the.
He's got it.
All right, good. All right.
Yeah. I'm not as non-Blake as I used to be. I'm like second level going up to third level now.
All right. I
leveling up.
But like when I remember watching this on the History Channel, and I'm like, were they out of their fucking mind? What the fuck were you thinking?
This is what happens when you have civilians who start a revolution. That's what they were.
Uh-huh.
The guy who started this shit back in 1917 is a guy named Lev Bronstein, who was Ukrainian, and he went to New York and he got the backing of a bunch of bankers who gave him all of the money to go start the Russian Revolution. And that's where they killed the Tsar and executed the whole family. And you know Lev Bronstein as
Lenin.
Leon Trotsky.
Oh, it's Trotsky?
Leon Trotsky.
I thought Lenin was the first one.
No, Lenin was later.
Okay.
And Trotsky was the one who got the revolution started, got the money from the bankers in New York, and got everybody killed. These guys were not intellectuals. They were normal Joes who were willing to do what these bankers in other parts of the world wanted them to do because the Tsar of Russia was in the way of them putting in banks in Russia and making more money.
So you're saying useful idiots? Is that what
Maybe.
Yeah.
I feel like I might be.
Roundabout way, you're explaining what we have going on here with our youth, a bunch of useful idiots.
I feel that might be the case.
Yes.
I feel that might be the case. Anyway, those useful idiots purged all of the Russian government, creating the Soviet Politburo and creating the Soviet. They hadn't gotten to the military yet. They wouldn't get to the military until 1940, 1941, like we're seeing right here. But when you have a bunch of guys who were basically a bunch of kids who threw a revolution that accidentally worked somehow, and they start making decisions for the military, they don't know how to make that.
No, they don't. Yeah,
and Jimmy, I love you. This is nothing personal, but it would be like me putting you in charge of the task force that I was with when we were in North Africa.
That'd be a problem.
That'd be a problem.
I love you, man, but I just don't think you're up to it right now.
No.
I could get you there. But
give me 2-3 years and I might be able to get there. But,
but during the purge, during the Soviet era, they got rid of 40% of their officers were imprisoned or just straight up executed.
Yes. And 15 years later, the Chinese would do the same thing. They killed anybody who was an intellectual threat to them and purged anybody who was an intellectual threat to them. And that's what the whole purpose of these purges was to get rid of the threats. That's what's been done in our Pentagon. To circle this back around to the original point, anybody who posed a threat, ergo any patriot with half a brain, has been removed. They're gone. You have nothing but yes men in there. The military is going to save us. They'll turn on the government and everything.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm sad to report that is no longer the case. Maybe in some of the special operations units, some of those guys will either walk away or fight for us.
Well, if it turns into a overt two-way rifle range, I do not think we are going to see 100% of the military and 100% of the country's police force, basically fight for the other side. You're going to get an even split, 60-40, 50-50. And the way it looks, they just don't have the numbers.
Yep.
We talked about this at the beginning of the show. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Yep. Like you said, Pop, if you can't feed your family, you can't fill your car with gas, can't pay your bills. If a paycheck stops just right out, is that same person still going to support the people that were writing those checks before? Or are they actually going to side with the people saying, hey, what the fuck you're doing is wrong. We're telling you what you're doing is wrong. And you better fucking pull your head out of your ass before we shove something else up there. And you're never going to get it back.
Well, historically speaking, that's what happens.
And that's when things come around to the two-way rifle range. We don't want that to happen. We're going to stay out of it. We're going to do what we need to do to survive and stay out of it.
We're just talking about historically, that's what happens.
Yeah.
This is nothing new.
Yep.
All right. And I'm pointing out the fact that we're seeing the same pattern in this century as we saw in the 20th century.
Yes.
All right, we're just going to have
with a lot of the same actors.
Well, we're going to have slightly different actors.
Yep.
All right. But like, for instance, the purge that took place in the Russian military, we're seeing the exact same thing happen here. It's just not as bloody yet.
Yep.
Now,
yes.
Here's something that's happening out of order. 10 years prior to the Russian purge, the Bolsheviks created a famine in Ukraine and parts of Russia.
And part of Poland.
And part of Poland.
Yep.
Part of the goal was to get rid of excess mouths. And they basically decimated all of the farming and everything. And lo and behold, what's going on out there? I know some of you guys are watching this stuff on the internet. It's not being broadcast on the news at all, but you got the German farmers, the Netherlands farmers, the French farmers.
Mm-hmm.
They're
and
all
in England.
And England now too, huh? I hadn't seen the English one.
Well,
yet.
It's not as big, but we had it going on in Canada.
The Canada trucker thing.
Yeah.
But it's come here to America now. They're going to go after our farms. And you'll say, oh, this can't happen in America. We've been saying that for decades. Guess what? It's here. We're going to see it. They're going to try to go after the farms. They're going to try to shut farming down. They're going to try to starve as many people as they can. They're going to do this. This is not an if. This is not a hypothesis. They're already starting the processes to do these things. That's what farming control is all about.
Correct.
Where I was born in a part of Michigan, north of Detroit, about an hour, called Shelby. When I was a boy, it was all dairy farms.
Yep.
There are 0 dairy farms there now. They're all controlled by big conglomerates like Monsanto and above. Bayer just bought Monsanto.
Great.
Oh, goody.
So there's that. But they're taking control of it in industrial farms. And if they have control of all the food and they've got control of all the distribution of the food, what happens? You starve. That's why they're raiding like the Amish guy in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
The Amish have been living that way for 240 years in the United States. I went and looked up the years that the Amish have been doing this stuff. 240 years. Well, they've either been committing crimes for 240 years or you have a nefarious agenda.
I'd be going, well, from what I've seen, our government is off the rails, in my opinion.
It's not our government at all anymore.
No,
in my opinion.
Well,
when there is one man that owns more farmland than anyone else combined, and pop quiz, can anyone guess who that is?
Not Bill Gates. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally not him. Yeah, he's totally not buying up farmland and ranch land and cattle land and all this other land that is used for producing food. But yet he's also investing heavily into lab-grown meat. That's totally not going to give you cancer or anything like that.
First
totally
of all, that lab-grown meat is actual cancer cells, from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
No, thank you.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporters Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.